St. Paul today speaks to the Ephesians, and he says, I pray that you may not lose heart over my sufferings for you. And in the gospel, Christ says that he came to bring fire to the earth, and how we wish that it were already kindled. We have here two things, the sufferings that St. Paul is undergoing, but then also the heart of Christ, which is seeking to set the whole world on fire, not for destruction, but that it would be set on fire with his love. A great example of these two things, suffering and also the great fire of the love of God, is St. John Paul II, whose feast day we celebrate today. We remember him, we remember his life, we remember his witness. For John Paul II, in many ways, you could say his life was a life of tragedy and of darkness. And for many people, if they experienced the same thing, you would understand if they were never able to get out of it. They were never able to make sense of it. Before he was born, John Paul's sister, Olga, died. He lost his sister even before he was born. After he was born at the age of 9, his mother died. His brother Edmund died when he was 12 years old. His father died when he was 20. At that point, as a young man, he was left entirely on his own in this world. No family left. They had all died. If that wasn't bad enough, during that time, the university that he loved and the hopes and desires that he had seemed to be scattered as communism came in and he was kicked out of the school. He was sent for 5 years to a quarry for hard manual labor, dangerous labor. And there he worked hard every day. It was during that time that he felt the call to become a priest. But where could he go? So he began seminary underground in secret, doing his studies, his work, in addition to that hard manual labor. During this time, many of his friends died, many of those who he knew. As he continued on, he became a priest, and as a priest, he was watched very carefully by the communists. They spied on him. After he became a bishop and finally the Pope, but even as the Pope, an assassin shot him and he nearly died. As an old man, he suffered from an intestinal tumor, he had a femur fracture, he had debilitating Parkinson's disease. He was immobile, and after a while, he wasn't able to speak anymore. You could look at that life and say, what a tragedy, what a suffering, what a dark, horrible life. But his life was more than these sufferings. For most of us, we don't focus on any of these things because what we saw in him was the witness of Christ. We saw the love, the burning love of Christ, which flowed through his veins wherever he went, wherever we saw him. His life was a profound life that changed the world. Even though there was much darkness, there was greater light. For us, in our own lives, we don't want to be mastered by the darkness. We know there's many sufferings, many challenges, but our lives are about more than that. Our lives are about the witness of God. Our lives are about the grace of God flowing in our veins, the example of light, that burning flame in this world, that he was even despite all of those challenges, and that God calls us to be as well, despite whatever challenges we have in our lives. We ask today for the intercession of John Paul II, that he would give us strength, that he would help us to persevere until the end. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the